Hello, and welcome to Joshua Wessex with me, Josh. This is a YouTube channel where we try and use facts, logic, reasoning, common sense to make sense of the world around us and work out what's really going on. So if you like that sort of thing, please do like this video and subscribe to see more. I've got a bunch of other videos that you can go check out at the same time, but otherwise, we'll get straight into it. Now, mind you, this video is a sort of follow-on from my last one about white privilege. So after watching this, go watch that, might catch up, or pause this, go watch that, and then watch this again. But essentially, that's what today's going to be about. But before I kind of get into that, as I said, this is a new YouTube channel, so if you got any feedback for me, please do leave it in the comments. I want to improve and see what's going on. One thing I can't do though is change my voice. I was born this way, just like Lady Gaga. I understand that it does go quite high, and I do sound like a girl at times. Um, I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. So apart from that, any feedback, do let me know. But today we're going to be looking at DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just a quick sort of overview. DEI is the sort of retaliation, I'd say, to let's say to white privilege. Essentially, just imagine one day there was this world where all the white straight men were in charge, and they had all the money and all the jobs, and they got to do anything they wanted in Western countries, not in other countries. So bunch of liberals got together and thought, okay, well, we can't have this, so we need to sort of balance the playing field and get everyone else on board. So I'm going to quickly go through what DEI is. And again, I'm going to be as generous and as factual as I can about this, and then we'll discuss what's wrong with it afterwards. So, firstly, then we're going to start with the D for diversity, not the band or group that almost won. Did they win Britain's Got Talent? It doesn't matter. There's no Ashley banjo in this. Right. So here we are. Here's a lovely group of diverse people. Look how diverse they are. And they're all very happy about it. So diversity is the idea that in sort of your society, your business, community, whatever it may be, organization, um, you should ideally be looking to be as diverse as possible, given the amount of people that are in there. Now, with that in mind, so that would include sort of, okay, if you've only got sort of mainly white men in your company's gonna have a very narrow mindset, isn't it? It's all these people, maybe they're from the same town, the same culture, the same religion, so they might have, sort of just one way of doing things. Um, Not very diverse, and you know, to be fair, it might mean that they're missing out on opportunities because they sort of got a very narrow window of the world. So diversity sort of gives the impression of sort of, okay, if you had, let's say, more women in your roles, if you had people of, I'm gonna say people of color, if there were black, Asian people like in your company, maybe you'd be able to, I don't know, reach new markets or just have a better understanding, maybe improve some of your products and services. That's the sort of idea of diversity. Is that if you've got more sort of people in, you can get the most out of them, and in a way, that does make some pretty good sense. You don't know what you don't know. Bring new people in. Find out what you do know. So, in a nutshell, that is diversity. So, moving on from these smiling people, next we're looking at equity. So, on the left side of this picture, you've got a picture of equality. So, just to be clear, you've got three people looking over a fence at a baseball game that they've not paid to watch. So they're all criminals, in my opinion, but that's not the point. So under equality, they all get a box to stand on, and obviously there's a tall man, a medium person, and a toddler um, trying to watch this game. And well, the toddler can't see because even though he's been given the same resources as the tall person and the medium person, um, he's just too small. So under equity, what essentially it means is the tall person, well, he doesn't need his box, does he? So he gives it to the short ass, and now short ass can see for free as well and join in and be an accomplice to the crime of stealing entertainment. So that is what equity is, essentially giving people the sort of resources or let's say and opportunities they need in order to kind of have a fair playing field, which again doesn't on the whole doesn't sound too bad. Was it, buddy? No, it doesn't. Good boy. I think you need a few boxes, don't you, mate? Anyway, so now, like, I mean, an example of this might be, wheelchair ramps, something like that. So, wheelchair ramp allows people who aren't able to walk access to buildings and facilities that they normally wouldn't have. I don't think anyone can really argue with that, can they? So, yeah, the idea of equity is that way everybody's equal. You've got to give some people more than others, and in this case, tall guy doesn't get anything, but he's the same as everyone else in a very loving, happy society. Um, sorry, I don't know what Paddy's. I think he's going for a nap. Okay, all right. Well, sorry, he's distracting me now. All right, moving on then. So that's equity. Now inclusion. Here we go. Look at this. Two lovely men coming together. Look at that. Melts your heart. Inclusion, essentially, is the idea that some groups of people have been, let's say, ostracized over the years, left out in the cold, and inclusion essentially is bringing them in, letting them have a seat at the table, letting them, take part in society. And again, nothing wrong with that. I don't think. Look how happy these two gentlemen are. Um, yeah, I mean they are AI generated. They're not real, but hey, if they were, who knows? So that's inclusion. All right. So in a broad nutshell, those are the three pillars of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, you want to get as much varied people as you can in. You want everyone to sort of have the same outcome, and you want everyone there. So what could possibly go wrong with this? Well, let me tell you then. So let's start off with diversity. So on the screen here, I've got from the government's own website. Essentially, this is called positive action in the workplace. So a lot of people don't know this, but we have the Equalities Act of 2010, meaning that you're not actually able to treat people differently based on what we call protected characteristic. So that could be your race, your sex, your sexuality. Yep. Sexual orientation, sorry, and religion, those kind of things, and age as well. So, for example, if somebody was applying for a job, they it is illegal to discriminate against them because they might be too old for the job now, or sorry, I don't hire brown people. No, you can't do that anymore. Not that people really would, but it now says you can't. However, the government, cheeky government, has found a way to kind of get around that. So what we've got here is what we call positive action in the workplace. Essentially, I'm not going to read through all of it, but the main thing about it is essentially it's saying, yes, you can't treat people differently, but you can if they're a marginalised group. So if you want to read it, by all means, you feel free. But essentially, it's just kind of getting around it, saying, okay, if you're basically not a straight white man, you can get a leg up, which is also illegal. But hey, in this world of inclusion, who cares? So next thing I want to talk about diversity is for people that don't know, the United Kingdom is about 73% white now, from what I last checked. So that is a massive drop in the last 10 years since 2011, which is I think it's 83%. So yeah, that's that. So let me just the reason I'm bringing that up is because when it comes to diversity, you're sort of meant to say, okay, looking at the demographic of your country, area, whatever it might be, you can't do quotas in the UK, but people will say, oh, okay, I want to see this amount of women in your sort of board in the boards of directors, or I want to see this. Now, one such employer is the RAF, the Royal Air Force. So, Royal Air Force, what do? Well, they fly in planes, and the idea is to defend this country, from air. So, if you're kind of recruiting for armed services, who is your sort of go-to demographic that you'd recruit from? Well, naturally, as it has been for millennia, you would recruit young men from your country who tend to have a stake in it. So, you're talking about people whose parents might have served, generally fathers, or, they're they're from a small town. They've got roots and they care about this place. Um, right, that's who you normally pick for. But because of diversity, what we found, you can't see that. What we found is the actual RAF was discriminating against white men. So if somebody was trying to apply to be in the RAF, they would take a protected characteristic, so their race and their sex, and actually put a negative towards it. Now, let's be clear. I'd mentioned this in my white privilege video as well. In recent years, basically a lot of people who are foreign nationals in this country get told by our schools, by the government, well, not the government, but get told by a lot of the liberal media as well that, oh, okay, sorry, there's white privilege, you're victims, the system's against you. What would make you want to join the armed services where you potentially die in the line of duty? Well, there's not really anything to coach you to do that. You might as well go work at McDonald's. It's safer. Well, in some McDonald's, not in London. So the main pool that the RAF would recruit from is going to be young white men, isn't it? Because men are naturally more drawn towards the armed services. I know there are some women there too, but not too many. And as I said, the predominant colour of this country is white. So when you've got the actual armed services saying, all right, for diversity's sake, because we want everyone we want it, to look a bit nicer, we're actually not going to hire white men. So what that ends up doing is reducing our military capability to defend ourselves. And because, I don't know, who knows, let's say China attacks, Putin, Middle Eastern countries, what are they going to do when they're sort of attacking us and they say, oh, sorry, your services aren't diverse enough, can we please restart the battle? No, they're not going to care, are they? So they want us dead. So that's it. So that was stupid. And then something else that I've just come across as well. Sorry, I should have probably made it. Right. So recently, one of the Labour MPs, Sarah Puchin, got in trouble for pointing out that in media, a lot of our adverts are overrepresenting people of ethnic minorities. Again, purely for diversity's sake as well. Okay, if you watch adverts now, you consider I said 73% of the country is white. How often are you going to see a family of white mum, white dad, white kids? You're not. Generally, you're going to find a black dad, white mum, and for some reason an Asian kid. All right. Don't know how that happened, but yeah, that's what's happening as well. So again, that's for diversity's sake. So that's it then. So we'll move on then, because I've kind of yummed a bit about that, to equity. So I haven't got a picture for equity, but essentially, equity is, to be honest with you, it's basically communism, okay? So as we saw in that photo earlier of the three people with the boxes, equality is treating everyone the same, which you would actually think was the goal. Just treat everyone the same and let's all be happy. With equity, no, you're literally picking people and giving them more resources so they can keep up with others. Now, you might think, okay, that actually makes that sense. I mean, why would we not do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, under communism, for those that don't realise it, it's a horrible doctrine. Don't ever look towards it. You get what you call sort of everyone gets the same result. So it doesn't matter what job you do. You could be a doctor, you can be a cleaner, you can be whatever. You get the same salary. You have access to the same amount of rationing of food, everything like that. In those sort of societies, there is no inclination for you to better yourself. Okay, because why would you work your socks off? Why would you work hard, build a business, train for for tournaments, sports, whatever it might be, if when you get there, you don't get the reward for it? People wouldn't do that. It's not built into our DNA to do it. We're built to be competitive. What was it? Survival of the fittest. Yeah. So when you just kind of give everyone, when you just give people things and say, okay, like go work hard, they turn around and say, well, why would I? You've already given me the stuff. I don't need to do anything anymore. So you kind of create a nation of apathy because it's like, well, I don't need to do anything. I'm going to get the same anyway. Now, with equality, you treat everyone the same, so it doesn't matter again what their sex is, age, all that lovely stuff in the Equality Act, and essentially the bolder people, the smarter people, they'll do better, and you want that because imagine if Bill Gates. I'm using Bill Gates. He's done horrible stuff recently, but imagine if he didn't. He was a massive nerd, okay, and he probably thought one day, I'm never going to get a girl talking to them about coding. But if I get really rich off coding, I can then go buy whatever woman I want. And turned out he did. And now we have computers. So that's why I think it's good. So there's a little thing you might hear about this. We want equality of opportunity. So everyone should have the same opportunities, no matter their background, no matter where they're from. But we shouldn't have equality of outcome because that's just stupid. So that's the equity bit. I don't think it makes sense. And then the last thing we're talking about is inclusion. Now, before I switch to this, I'm just letting you know now, this is the tamest photo I think I could get away with. So, there he is. Inclusion. So, when we talk about inclusion, I'm just going to use gay pride as a big sort of example here. So, we'll call this guy Big Bruce. I think he's got a third sock hanging down. Okay, that's nice. So Big Bruce here. So for years, let's say gay people were sort of, it was actually illegal to be gay in the UK. And then, after a while, we kind of got to this consensus of, okay, you're born this way, you can't do anything about it. And because we were quite Christian, Christians don't like homosexuality. As they say, love the sinner, hate the sin. But it was like, you know what? We can't do anything about it. You be you, go live your life. But they started really living their lives, didn't they? Because now every month of the year, it's just every corner you go down, you just got pride flags everywhere. But people grinding half naked, well, in this case, quite naked. And that's all inclusion. We want them to feel part of the society. And well, you give them an inch, they take a mile. To the point now, we've got, honestly, in like Toronto, you've got like people wearing like fetish outfits or just fully naked in front of children, right? So yeah, inclusion's nice, but there is such a thing as sort of being too inclusive. People, you need to give people boundaries, and everyone needs to respect each other, because when you start sort of prioritizing one group over another, they start taking privileges and they start saying, no, we can do this because we're marginalized. Well, if you look to my white privilege video, you can see basically everyone who isn't a white or straight white man is privileged these days. Okay, you can literally do whatever you like, and there's no repercussions for it. It's the same with sort of, I'm going to say it like with Islam as well. Okay, we basically kind of let people kind of do whatever they like. And we're just so tolerant that, you can do it. And then it turns out to be really, really horrible things. So that's the sort of summary of what DEI is. Let's get rid of Big Bruce now. So yeah, I wanted to kind of cover that because in the white privilege video, I was just talking about sort of what the idea of white privilege sort of came about, and, why it was that way. DEI is a complete response to it. And to be honest, it's completely idiotic. You are going to see in your workplaces, you've probably seen it already, you've got e-learning talking about it. It's still being pushed out there. You've got things like, okay, what are your preferred pronouns? As I mentioned in my trans video, pronouns only apply to somebody in the third person. You shouldn't have to tell anybody your pronouns, okay? It's still going on for those who say it's not. I had a friend of mine say, oh, all this stuff's dead. It's not. Under legislation, it is not. Under company policies, it's not. And especially with the UK police, you can get arrested for disagreeing with these things. So diversity, we have an overrepresentation of people. It's prejudicing against white people, to be perfectly blunt with you. Okay, we should be treating everyone the same based on merit, not just tokenism. Say, oh, you're a woman, come sit on this board. In fact, there are some boards that call it the woman seat because they just had to have a woman there, irregardless of if she's good enough or not. Equity, right? Let's just kind of give everyone everything they need to be the same as each other. No, I do agree. Some people do need extra things, as I mentioned, wheelchair users using ramps, which is also great for mums and buggies. So two birds, one stone. But If you do that too much, all you're going to do is disincentivize everyone from even trying, because if you're going to get the same result, then why bother? And then lastly, inclusion. Yeah, we want to be inclusive. We want to be tolerant. But goodness gracious me, there are limits to it, and people have passed those limits. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, I think recently, after my halal meat and trans videos, I've been getting a lot less views. I think I'm being shadow banned, unless for some reason people really prefer supply and demand chart videos. If that's your bag of tea, so cup of tea, do let me know. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much for listening. Do like, do subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.